Welcome to this week's episode of We Are the Bonsai Supply. This is Mari and I'm Jerome.
Today we're very excited because we hit the 10K subscribers in YouTube.
So we thought since we just reached 10,000 followers that we would use a tree, a buttonwood actually, that has been in training for 10 years, but it's actually over 100 years old. So let's get to it.
Let's do it.
Alright, so this is the buttonwood that we're going to be working on in today's video. So this tree was collected about 10 years ago, and I got the tree from Mary Madison, and the tree itself is over 100 years old. So that means when it was collected that the tree was over 100 years old, and now it has been in bonsai training for around 10 years. So Mari is already starting eagerly to defoliate the tree, and the way that she does that is she just pulls off the leaves. Alright, so you have your branch here, right? So you can hold the branch and then just pull on the leaves like this. And if you get to very fine branching, like the very new growth out here, you can just use your scissors and cut it so that you don't break the new shoot. Now, by tearing the leaves off like that, you actually break the leaves at the weakest point, and so the tree will use this stem that's left over here now for dieback purposes. So this tree, at the very beginning, it had a very thick branch here, and it had also a branch in here. It looked a little bit like Medusa. It had branches in every single direction, and there was no real, you couldn't see any movement. There were too many thick and heavy branches that were going straight up. So once I acquired the tree, I eliminated all of these branches and I regrew every single branch actually. Now, so it was 2 years ago when I worked with Mary, and this actually was a branch, and this was not carved like this yet. And so this main branch, I removed it already, and then she suggested that we create some deadwood to go into the buttonwood design, because according to her, every good buttonwood needs a lot of deadwood. So we started carving this deadwood, and the reason why it's black is because after it was carved, we torched it. So we used a torch, and we heated up the wood until it turned white, and then we used a misting bottle to spray the wood, and the hot wood would then start to expand. And that's when you, when I take you closer and you're gonna see the deadwood looks actually like it's maybe 100 or plus years old, and that's because we use the technique of torching the wood and then spraying it with water so the wood would expand. So you see how the deadwood in here starts to crackle like this. This is usually something that you see on a tree that's very, very old. And this has all been done with the torch. Now that I'm gonna repot it, I can then after apply the lime sulfur and then move it out into full sun. Alright, so the black char of the deadwood, it's gonna turn, it's not gonna stay this black, it's gonna lighten up in color a lot. After we repot it, we are going to keep it in the shade, and once we move it back out into full sun, we're going to apply a lime sulfur treatment to bring the white deadwood color out a little bit. Because right now, the story of the tree kind of tells that it was in a wildfire, which is actually kind of true, because on the other side, so on the back side, you see all this black right here? This is actually an indicator that the tree was near a wildfire, and it burned this whole side of the tree. So that's why this side, being so dark as well, is just very fitting. My apologies. Carry on. On the very young shoots, on the very tip of the shoots, we use scissors, because if we tear the leaves, we could potentially break this new growth. And for that job, we use our new scissors that are now available on the website. And these scissors are super, super sharp, and they just cut through everything with ease.
Mary, I hope you're watching this video because we love you.
I can defoliate buttonwoods pretty much any time of the year, as long as it's warm outside. But that's in Florida. I mean, we are in South Florida in Fort Lauderdale, if you're anywhere else in the country where it might not be the same temperatures, you really want to do some research first, and you want to definitely make sure that the night temperatures stay above 70 degrees. And this is why we defoliate this tree in the middle of the summer and not in early spring. Since this part has already been pretty well defoliated, I'm going to start to cut the tree back now. And all of these long shoots right here, we let them grow until they got to about this size, just to thicken up the branch a little more. But I think it's pretty thick, pretty well thickened up at this point, so I can go ahead and just cut the tips back and push the growth back a little bit. And so I also go through and I cut back all of the dead branches, and I also cut back to tubes. So let me show you a couple branches where this might be. The branch forks into the two branches here, and then on top here we have another two branches that come out of the exact same spot. I call this the fork problem, where you have too many branches come out of the exact same spot. So I'm going to eliminate the middle branches, this one and this one. Here we go. So if I were to keep this third branch up here, this would bulk up and become so thick it would look really ugly, and it would ruin the design of the branch. So when I was talking about the two part, I was talking about this. So the branch comes down here, it forks into two, it goes over here, it forks into two, and then it comes this way and it splits into two as well. And now I have to continue this all the way out to the very tips of the branches. So again here, you can see that it splits into two, right? Even though that they're crossing, but that's okay for right now. And then again, I cut the tips back to two. So on this branch over here, which is the other branch, it follows down this line, and then I remove this. I cut this back. I remove this because it's dead, and I just cut the branch back to here. Alright, so now you can see that it goes into two, and then it just continues all the way over here. So let me show you what this looks like from above. So the branch splits into two over here, and then it runs down, and then it splits into two here, and it splits. This one actually grows straight up, so I'm going to cut this guy out. So see, it splits from here two into then here two again. It goes straight down, it splits into another branch here, and then you have one branch over here. It splits into two, and so I can take all these tips off here and push the growth back. And that's how you build your ramification. And this is why we defoliate, because we want to have more branches, for instance, in here. So by defoliating, I create a lot of back budding, and hopefully I will get another branch in here. So when you design your bonsai tree, there's a couple of very important things to look out for. Number one, you want to make sure that your bottom branches are the thickest branches on your tree, and then that they become thinner towards the top. So the thinnest branches should be on the very top of your tree. You also want to make sure that you don't have any inside branches. So meaning if this was a tree trunk, this is the inside of the curve. So you don't want to have any branch growing out of here, because that will ruin your design and the movement at some point. So you always want to make sure that the branches are on the outside of the movement, and that they're thickest at the bottom and then thinnest towards the top. So now I've removed all the crossing branches. I removed all of the inside branches. I removed all of the forks, right? I always cut out the middle one so that I can wire these two branches together. And what you might think at this point, that the tree is very heavy down here and very heavy up here, but there's not a lot in here. And that's okay. We're gonna use this back branch and bend it over a little more so that we will have another branch in there. But I do like a lot that the tree is so uneven. It makes it look so old. So when I have to bend heavy branches like this one, I always like to use a guide wire and not actual wire the branch, because a thick branch like that is very easy to break. So I just pull here on the wire and then just tighten it, and I go little by little, and that way I'm not going to break the branch and I can move it very successfully over. So this is awkward. to say the least.
It was meant to be that way. You planned it though.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. So I wanted to show you, if this ever happens to you, what you can do to fix that. So I think that the branch was already a little, it may have been a little cracked already, and when I started pulling, that may have done it. So I need to come up with a plan B now. This was a little bit of a setback right now. Not very good, but that's okay. These guys grow fast, and if that's the only thing I have to fix is to bring a branch in there, you know, not a big deal. I have pretty good set branches everywhere else, so yeah. A lot of roots here, so this tree was definitely root bound and was definitely ready for a repot. Now it is dry like this because we haven't watered it since yesterday, so that it would make it easier for us to repot it. So you see all these fine roots in here. This is what you want to achieve with your bonsai tree, and in order to achieve a really great ramification in the branches, you also have to create a very dense ramification within your root system. And this is why you need to use a good quality soil, such as the one that we use. So the one that we use is made out of calcined clay, pumice, lava rock, and pine bark. And all these ingredients together, they really help to promote a very healthy root system. You can flip it. Go ahead and check. All these thick roots, you can remove them if they are underneath the surface level. On top of the surface, you want to keep the heavy roots, which show stability and age of a tree. But underneath, inside the root ball, you want to take these out.
Also, you guys, if you're needing bigger size pots, we have them available as well. They're not on our website as their shipping is a little different. But if you contact us to info@thebonsaisupply.com with the size of the pots that you need, we can make it happen for you.
I always shape the soil into a pyramid like this, so that when I pot it, I can sit the tree on top and then wiggle it down in position. You wanna hold? Alright, so when I repot a tree and when I position the tree in the pot, I always want to make sure that it's not completely in the center this way on a rectangle or an oval pot. I want to make sure that it's slightly off the center, but this way, however, lengthwise, I do want to make sure that the tree sits pretty much in the center and that the top is just slightly leaning forward. It's leaning towards the person that's looking at the tree. So I think the tree looks a lot better in its new pot. We changed the angle just slightly, And it's pretty obvious that, you know, this part here is really missing the branch that someone broke off. But you know, when that happens, you just play it cool and you just pretend like it was meant to be, it was supposed to be taken off, like that one. That branch was in the wrong place to begin with, so it needed to go anyways. And so we're just gonna place this tree in the shade now. We're gonna water it thoroughly, and then we're just gonna continue to water it. And we're gonna keep it in the shade until we see new growth. Once we see new growth, we'll move it right back out into full sun, and we continue to water. We wait a whole month, so 30 days, until we fertilize for the first time. Alright, so this is pretty much it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video.
Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Right now we're 10K, then we go 20, 30. We're gonna be giving percentage off in the website until
What happens when we get to 100K?
we'll be giving free stuff. So please subscribe and let's keep going. Thank you so much.
Catch you guys next time.